Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. The SPFL scrap plans for an independent review into the Rangers tax case. Jose Simonovic is fit for the derby, but Lee Wallace is facing an 8-week layoff. Pedro Caixinha believes Celtic will try and provoke Alfredo Morelos. Just a few of the talking points on the programme. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin. I'm delighted that we welcome back one of our favourite old strikers, former Celtic and West Ham striker. Frank McAvennie is here with us in the studio. Let's have a look at the back page headlines in the newspapers. First of all, the Daily Record. No one cares about Celtic. This is a story from Craig Bellamy talking about the feelings down south to Celtic and, of course, the job Brendan Rodgers is doing. And there's a picture there of two Celtic players celebrating after their Betfred quarter-final cup tie win over Dundee at Dens Park by 4-0. The Sun, again referencing the win over Dundee for Celtic. Jose Simonovic facing a race against time to be fit. And up at the top, Wes Fotheringham saying Celtic won't give us too many problems. And the Courier last night's game at the forefront there. Celtic deserve to win, says the Dundee boss Neil McCann. So that's the main points on the back pages of the newspapers. Let's go to that game last night first of all. And interestingly enough, of course, as the programme starts, we're not too far away from the beginning of Motherwell against Aberdeen, which we will reflect on tomorrow night's programme. Ruffy, what did you make of last night at Dens Park?
Well, again, Celtic got an early goal and the one after that, and then they just controlled the game. They controlled the pace of the game, they controlled the tempo, they just passed the ball about. And Dundee, although they had maybe one or two chances, when you get these chances, you've got to take them against Celtic. And I think the last two goals just capitalise on the dominance of the whole game. But it just shows you that they can go up a pace, they can come down a pace and go back up again. That's the way they're playing just now.
Macca, I was disappointed in Dundee. I thought they offered very little.
Well, I thought they'd have offered more because McCann was saying to anyone who would listen, you know, this is the one that they're going to beat Celtic at last, and it was like a bit, you know, it was a bit, I don't know what happened. They didn't come out, you know. I thought they'd come out all cylinders flying, and it didn't happen. And Celtic, as Ruffy said, controlled the game. It was pretty easy for them. I think that they won in the first half when they had a chance to get through, and the guy just didn't have the legs to run away for Scott Brown. Not even one of the quickest players in the team. So, and Scotty caught him, and which was a chance. Any normal striker would have run away from Scott. But I think today's game you need pace, and the big boy last night didn't have it to get away from Scott, which was unfortunate because it may have made a better game of it.
Yeah, I mean, picking up on that point, Ruffy, at times I was watching the game and I know this sounds outrageous to suggest it, but I was actually bored. Because, and the reason I give you that line is because, quite simply, Celtic are now methodical. Yeah. You know, it goes left, it goes right, it goes, you know, they probe constantly. That's not a criticism of them. That's just, you're looking for the opposition to do something else to change the flow of the game. But it's just this relentless pounding until they eventually break down the door.
Yeah, they're now playing, when they get ahead in the game, they're now playing a European style of football, which is all about possession, and it's keeping it and not losing it, you know, obviously. And I saw it against Partick Thistle at the 1-0 game at Firhill. They just controlled the game from start to finish. Yeah. And I remember I'd reading an article with Brendan Rodgers saying that is the way where you get your breath back. That is the way when the players can take a wee breather. If you've got possession and you're passing it left and right, then players are regrouping after that, and that's what they're doing. And nobody's come up with a formula yet that is going to disrupt them. I think the only way that the teams will be looking at Celtic now are if we score first. You know, what kind of reaction is there going to be? But Celtic have proved in the past that losing a goal isn't panic stations. There's no panic button. They just keep playing the way they are. They know openings will come. They know the big players will do something special, and that's why they're on that run that they're on.
Macca, could you possibly leave James Forrest out of the starting lineup for Saturday with that performance last night? 2 goals
made a big statement. You know, Patrick Roberts coming in, you thought, but it's been maybe the kick that James you need, because you know he was playing and sometimes I thought you can do a bit more when Patrick Roberts wasn't there. But Patrick's come back up the road, and now you see the best. I mean, he's a definite talent player. I mean, there's no doubting about it. Might be a wee bit better defender than Patrick Roberts, but it's wonderful to have two players like that competing. And sometimes we put Patrick on the other side or James, but it's great that he can do all that.
Yeah. If you were going to pick a side, who would you pick for Celtic starting in this game? I mean, it's a tough one to put you on. You know, I mean,
I'm a big fan of Roberts. I like Roberts.
Yeah.
I do. He's one of these players that when he gets the ball, you get off your feet.
Yeah.
You know, you get off your backside and you stand and he just makes things happen. And when he's on his game, there's not a better winger, if you like. There's not a better player to watch, I don't think.
Yep. Okay. It's looming ever closer. Of course, Celtic are into the semi-finals of the Betfred Cup. The draw will be made after Motherwell against Aberdeen tonight, and then we'll know whether it's going to be an Old Firm semi-final or indeed they avoid each other and possibly a place in the final to contest the first piece of silverware of the season, which of course we'll know the winner of the League Cup before the end of the year. All roads now lead to Ibrox. Rangers against Celtic. Everybody thinking about the derby. And of course, even Brendan Rodgers himself is looking forward to this one.
I've enjoyed all of them, of course, in different ways. You've got obviously the league games. We've had the cup games. We've had the record victories, you know, at Ibrox. So they're all really, really special games, and the games that myself and the players we really look forward to.
Yeah, they'll go into it, I think, as hot favourites for this one, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think they will. But as Barry said the other day there, he's been in Celtic Rangers games. I'm sure Frank has as well. When the favourites look as if they're going to run over the top of the other one, I keep casting my mind back to the game we were at Ibrox when Celtic were supposed to be odds-on favourites. I think Rangers got an early goal in the first 5 minutes. Their backs were up, the fans were up, and it wasn't until 2 minutes before half-time that Celtic actually got their act together when Dundee scored. Obviously, second half was a bit one-sided after that, but that's what Rangers will have to do. They'll have to put the fans on their side. They'll have to get a lot of players who haven't played in this game before a lift, you know, and obviously, as Frank will tell you, at Parkhead and at Rangers, if you get the first goal, the whole place erupts and the heads go up and you believe that you can win practically anything. But I think that's what Rangers have to do. But we saw, as we discussed there, Celtic won't panic. You know, they'll wait until the big players get their chances, and I think they'll win the game quite easily.
Yeah, as far as this game is concerned, it kicks off early enough that everybody down south that has that little bit of interest in Scottish football will be watching it. But you're in a good position to comment on Craig Bellamy, because he was in the papers being quoted as saying nobody cares about Scottish football, and Brendan Rodgers, he might struggle to get a good job again, regardless of what he does at Celtic.
No, Craig cared about him when he came up here and took the money off them, didn't he? So he can't say that. I mean, I'm fed up with people coming up and taking money off Scottish clubs and then going away and having a pop at Scottish football. It's not right. Craig's been on TV recently, mouthing off about everyone, but it's what he does. I mean, it is what he does. He's all right kid, but he's, there's sometimes you've got to, as my missus says to me, sometimes you've got to engage your brain before you open your mouth, and I think Craig does that a lot. Yeah, absolutely, and what a great line from Marcus missus there to say that to him. I'm glad he's narrowed it down to. I'm glad he's narrowed it down to his missus. Anyway, on that point, here's Brendan Rodgers' take on Craig Bellamy.
It's not something I really think about, to be honest. I'm not up here to work on my next move from Celtic. I'm here because of Celtic, so I'm not really sure where it'll take me after here, but what registers for me is making the supporters here really proud, happy to watch their team. I love my life here in Glasgow. I really enjoy it. I enjoy working for this club. I enjoy preparing the team along with my staff for us to win and win well. I'm not really overly bothered what it does for my CV and what it maybe pointers towards my next job.
Okay, just to put a full stop on this one, Ruffy, we know where we are as a country in our standard of football. I don't think anybody in Scotland needs to justify, you know, the level we're at, or we don't need certainly English people or English football's approval or former players' approval of the Scottish game. We know where we are.
Yes, of course we know we are, and Brendan Rodgers knows where we are as well. He's already said there he's enjoying it. But if we're to go down the line of what a lot of big managers say is 4 or 5 years at any one club is enough. Am I all right there? Managers have said that.
Yeah, shelf life.
Shelf life. So he is going to move, you know. So then you've got to say, where is he going to move to? And then I think that's what we're discussing. You know, has he done enough at Celtic to get that big move?
Okay, join us after the break. We'll hear from Pedro Caixinha. We'll hear from Hibs boss Neil Lennon, as well as looking at the other games ahead of the weekend. Yep, a few good clues there, but I think we're all wide of the mark. We heard from Brendan Rodgers prior to the break there. Let's switch our attention to Pedro Caixinha, obviously after that confidence-boosting win after extra time against Partick Thistle. They're in the Betfred Cup semi-finals, but it's now all about the game at home against Celtic. Can Rangers produce a performance that gives them all 3 points, or will they be happy with a draw in this one? There's a good build-up to it as ever, and I think everybody really, Ruffy, is waiting to see how he's going to line his team up against Celtic.
I think more importantly is what the lineup's going to be personnel-wise. You know, we keep talking about people are injured here and there. There are important players in that Rangers side that they really need on the day, and it'll be interesting to see when the team lines come out who's in it and who's not in it, and then you've got a better idea. But certainly, yeah, you're right. You know, and the evidence of the other night there, the game we were at Partick Thistle, Morales looked the only danger. You know, although there was a lot of other players put in good performances, he looked the only goal scoring danger for me. Obviously set pieces, that kind of thing. But I think it's, as Barry said again, midfield is where it's going to be won and lost, and that's the big one for me, is who's going to be playing in there against each other. Yeah,
well, you mentioned Alfredo Morelos, and Pedro Caixinha, the Rangers manager, thinks Celtic players might try and provoke him.
He's young, his gift is scoring goals, he enjoys playing games, but he needs to control his emotional side. And I have, and that's a good question, even because I can use it to send one alert. And that alert is that I know that he's going to be provoked. And my concern and my job is let him be calm and not respond to that. But he's one guy that is not going to, when the things are growing, when the environment is getting hot, is not stepping back. He faced the challenge. So we just need to understand how face the challenge, because he's going to be challenged.
So he thinks his star striker is going to be provoked by Celtic players. Here's what Brendan Rodgers thought of that line.
It's not really something that we concentrate on, you know. I don't think he needs any help in that from what I've seen, watching the game the other night against Partick. So I think for us, we really concentrate on ourselves. I think he's a young boy that's come into the country and he's started his campaign well. You know, he's got some goals. He's only 20. He wants to score goals, and sometimes when you're young, you can get a wee bit fired up. But no, we concentrate on our own work.
When you were playing Macca, did anyone turn around and say to you, look, there's a couple of players on the other side, have a little needle at them, they could get sent off?
No, but you know, we're talking about a boy earlier, Craig Bellamy. Everyone knew to have a go at him because his temper was such. But he was a proper player. He was a fiery temper, but I don't think Celtic will be too worried. You know, I think they'll be so concerned about what they do on the day, and You know, I think a couple of boys used to do it with Scott Brown, used to try and win Scotty up, but he's learned to temper. They don't do it now because he's controlled his emotions and all that, and I think it's a different Scott Brown than what he was 5 years ago.
Yeah. What do you make of Rangers? As Ruffy mentioned, we watched them the other night there against Partick Thistle. Barry Ferguson thinks the game will be won and lost in the midfield. What do you make of this current Rangers side?
I've not got a lot. To be honest, I've not watched them as much as what I should have, but you know, for what I hear about them, it's a new team. It's a full new squad that he's got together, and it'll take time. But he's coming up with some. I mean, the manager's coming out with. You think he would learn, but he's coming out with some statements. We only need 2 days to prepare for Celtic. You know, really, well, they're the best in the country. You would think you would need more than that. But yeah, I think he's just get on me and keep his emotions in. Like, he's just told everyone that the boys fired up. Everyone in the country knows that the boys got a temper. But he's just basically told everyone, so if they want to have a wee go at him, he's got to control his temper. It's a strange one for me, what he's saying and what he's coming out with. Yeah. I think the biggest problem, as Ruffy said, is how he's going to line his teams up. If he opens up and tries to go toe-to-toe with Celtic, then there's only one winner.
Yeah.
I think the former captain, John Brown, was known to say that recently. He says he's got to learn from his mistakes because twice they went toe-to-toe with him and they get beat 5-1. So it'll be interesting to see if he's learned and, you know, and what way he's going to line his team up. And formation-wise, to go whether they're going to contain it in midfield, as Barry said when he was here, you know, I think he's got to pack in midfield because that's where Celtic are really dangerous. You know, and if you let Scott Sinclair go on a run, like we showed the other night, he just, you know, last night against Dundee, he went on a run and you're scared to touch him. Yeah. You know, and it's defenders, midfield, they don't want to go near him because slightest touch nowadays and you get a penalty.
Well, here's the question that was put to Pedro Caixinha today earlier about how he thinks Celtic will play.
If they present when first 11 near to the way they present against PSG, that means that they have more respect on us. If they present a normal back three and the same behavior that they have all the time, or at least I saw all the time, or 99.9% of the times in Scotland, so that means that they feel the game the same way.
No, Ruffy, I'm a little bit. I'm going to keep a lock on it because it's so interesting and intriguing. He does consistently look for a bit of respect on this one, but I think he's got to just concentrate on trying to get something from the game to convince the Rangers fans they're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think he's getting a wee bit bogged down, you know, and things he shouldn't be getting bogged down in. You know, this game will take care of itself. You know, whether Celtic play 3 at the back or 4 at the back or whatever, you know, it'll be what happens on the day, and that's what he should be focused on. I think he has taken his eye off the ball a wee bit because he's already had a couple of Rangers Celtic games. So as Frank said, he should actually know what's going to happen, concentrate on his best 11 and forget what Celtic are going to do. Celtic will do. I mean, we don't know what Celtic's going to do. Celtic have got that many players and they're rotating everybody, and we keep saying it every time. Every time they go into a game and they make 5 or 6 changes, it's the same result. Yeah. You know, so the problem for Rangers is they won't know that 11 that Celtic are going to put out. So that's what he should be concentrating on, not about respect. If he plays 3 at the back, that's not them showing his respect.
They play 3 at the back, and they're so good at 3 at the back. I mean, they control the game. I've seen them play 3, start with 3 at the back, and they end up 4 across the back. But Brendan, he's a top manager. He changes formations all the time, and I think, you know, Pedro's got to be wary of that because I can't say, well, you're playing with 3, so you're not giving us any respect. I don't get that. I don't understand it.
Well, I think losing Lee Wallace, he's out for 8 weeks, which is a blow for Rangers. Declan John is obviously someone who impressed. I thought he was good foraging forward against Partick Thistle. And of course, Alves is a big concern. Here's the Rangers manager's take on all the injury problems.
I can tell you that we still are assessing all the players. I mean, today is the second day after the match, and normally 48 hours is when the majority of the players feel a little bit more from one game, a regular game of 90 minutes. So after one game that you have an extra time, so you need more time to recover. So we are still assessing everyone, Declan, Bruno, and all the others that start and finish in the game as well.
Are you confident that Declan and Bruno will be okay though?
I'm always positive. I'm always confident. But I need to, as I told you, I need to assess. And as soon we have the information, we'll take the decisions.
How big is that decision if Alves doesn't make it and Declan Jones out, Ruffy? Big one on
it's
Ross McCrory.
Yeah, it's your back four. You know, it's your back four. It's you want to go into a game of this magnitude with as near your best back four as possible. The young boy, the fullback, did particularly well the other night. I thought he was one of the pluses. Alves is yet to be tested in a big game, so he's a captain. If Lee Wallace isn't there, you know, they'll want him in the side, you know, with the experience of being an international footballer. If he wasn't to be there, and it's the young boy who gets thrown in there, plus the fullback not making it, don't know who they'll throw in there. It is a weakened side, and it's not a kind of side you want to go into when Celtic are absolutely flying.
There's a lot of the players that's going to be there at the weekend not played in the Old Firm game, isn't there?
Yes.
It depends, Peter, and anyone will tell you who's ever played in a game. It's different. It doesn't matter the size, whether it's one so far ahead of the other one. Anything can happen on the day, we all know that. But if Celtic turn up and the atmosphere in that stadium, a lot of the Rangers boys could freeze.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know how they're going to react. It might bring the best out of them.
Yeah.
You don't know.
The Celtic players certainly won't be freezing, Ruffy, because they are well aware of what it takes to go and win there emphatically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it doesn't matter, as I touched on it briefly, it doesn't matter whether it's the best 11 on the park, plus the ones that are sitting on the bench, because the ones that come on the bench have been there before as well. I think with the Celtic team, it would be interesting as well what team Brendan Rodgers thinks is the best side to put out to beat Rangers. I think there'll be a couple of surprises in there, you know, with the fringe players that he's got.
I think he's going to think about Anderlecht, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because that's his two cup finals, I think, the two games against Anderlecht for the Champions League, if you like.
Okay, after the break we're going to hear from Rangers fan James Black, who'll give us his thought from a fan's point of view ahead of this one. We'll also hear from Hibs boss Neil Lennon. We're going to talk Hearts, and we'll also hear from Jim McIntyre of Ross County as well. Yeah, you happy with that, Ruffy?
Yeah, we have to explain there was a kind of wee tactical move with you just to put a wee bit of doubt in my head there with that one, but I stuck firm.
Yeah.
Stuck firm, yeah.
Were you contemplating changing your mind?
No. I was pretty confident with that one.
Yep.
You know, first one in 3 weeks.
What was it, gave it away, Brittany?
Yeah, exactly, Maka. Okay, just before we hear from Hibs boss Neil Lennon, I always like to get a fan's perspective on the big game. Earlier today, I caught up with Rangers fan James Black and asked him, first of all, if he is going to head to Ibrox with confidence ahead of this game.
Yeah, I do a bit, yeah. There's definitely something to take from it. Celtic are a good side, but you've got a puncher's chance in any game.
Yeah, I mean, over and above the fact that many a person will tell you can't predict these matches, what did you see against Partick Thistle that might fill you with confidence?
I just think the team's starting to click now. It's taken a wee bit of time. The new signings have come in, guys like Pena, Herrera, and they're starting to find their feet now. They're getting used to the pace of the game in Scotland and the physicality of it, which you can tell they're not used to. They're getting used to heavier tackles. That defender's been a bit clever, so there's promising signs there.
And over and above that, James, of course, getting the win is one thing in midweek against Partick Thistle, but a lot seems to have been made of what Pedro Caixinha is going to do as far as tactics are concerned against Celtic. What would you like to see him do?
I think he'll go with the flat 4-4-2 he's been using again. They went with the 4-5-1 against Partick, but I think he's going to bring Miller back in and partner him up with Morelos. and then just kind of pack the midfield a little bit more.
Now, the Rangers manager's been speaking today, James. He's mentioned the fact that he thinks Celtic will try and provoke Alfredo Morelos because they reckon his temperament might be a little suspect in a game of this nature. What do you feel about it?
It's the kind of thing that happens in Old Firm games. They always have somebody they'll try and pick out and try and wind them up, maybe get them an early yellow card sent off later on. But I don't see it being much. There's a few guys on both sides with hot temperaments. So it just depends how the game plays out more than anything else.
Yeah, of course. Is home advantage crucial in this one for you? Do you think that can give Rangers a slight edge?
I do, yeah. I think with the first game being at Ibrox, it'll give them just that wee extra bit of backing for the fans. Going to Celtic Park for the first Old Firm game can be difficult for teams.
Yeah, I've got to ask you this, James. As a Rangers fan, you know, sometimes the derby means everything. Would defeat, in your mind, put extra pressure on Pedro Caixinha, or just another blow that you have to deal with?
I don't think it would put much more pressure on them. If there's one game that arguably get away with not winning, as daft as it sounds, it's this one. It's against a team that's they've not lost in 56 games domestically now, so you can take not winning that game much more than you could take not beating Aberdeen or Motherwell or anybody else in the Premiership.
Before I get your prediction, James, what about the opposition? Are there particular players that, from your own perspective, that you fear?
If Stuart Armstrong plays, I think he's got the ability to be a real difference maker for Celtic. Him and Tom Rogic. Other than that, I think we know exactly what Celtic can bring, and we know exactly the quality of players they've got. I don't think there's anybody that is head and shoulder above what Rangers have.
OK, it's the $64,000 question. James, give us your prediction for this one.
My head thinks it will be a draw. My heart wants a win, but I think it will be a draw. Probably one each.
OK, I'm sure many a Rangers fan would agree with James and be happy with one each when you consider this game, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think with the run that Celtic are on, you know, I think if most of the Rangers fans don't want to lose this one, you know, they'll think they can come away with a result at home. Obviously, they won't be particularly happy about it, but in the light of day, they can move on and get stronger the next time they play.
OK, I'm going to switch our attention now to Hibernian and Neil Lennon. He's been singing the praises of Anthony Stokes. Of course, he scored the winning penalty, which takes Hibs into the semi-finals of the League Cup as well, Macca. And maybe this is just the chance for Anthony Stokes to settle down at a club and, you know, and get a run of just proving that he is a good player.
I spoke to Lennon at the weekend and he was saying that. He was saying that he's enjoying his football again, and as an ex-footballer, you know what it's like, Ruffy, when you're enjoying your game, yeah, it brings out the best in you. So he's got a manager that rates him, knows him, knows his attitudes, and knows what he can bring to the game, and he's feeling good. So it can only be good for Anthony Stokes, because as I say, the manager's pushing him in the right way and giving him the confidence that he needs to go and play. And I think it's a great, you know better than me, but Easter Road's a good place to play your football. And especially now, it seems to be everyone's happy. Lenny's there, and there's decent players coming in like Anthony Stokes, and plus what they've got. I think it's all good for Hibernian.
Yep, Neil Lennon himself is looking at the form of late. 1 win in the last 5. He doesn't feel as if the results reflect the performances.
It could have went the other way, and it was a potential banana skin, because Livingston are a very good team, but we dominated a very good team, and we've done that in the majority of the games. So I think sometimes that can get overlooked by the scoreline. And we haven't got what we've deserved in some of the games this season as well, in terms of our dominance in games. So, like I said, the last half hour was a bit perplexing for me on Saturday, because we've been playing really well in the majority of all the other games.
Dundee, St Johnstone and Motherwell have all managed to take a point of Hibs, when really you would have looked at those matches and thought they were areas where Hibs could have taken maximum points, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think if everybody that believes that Hibs are going to be third or fourth, they're the points you need to get 3. They're the games you need to get 3 points. But as Neil said there, if you look at the St Johnstone game and you look at the Dundee game, they should have won them.
Yeah,
they were well on top in both of these games, just never got the break of the ball. So yeah, he'll be pleased with the performance overall. But at the end of the day, that could the 4 points could mean a matter of getting into that top 4.
Sometimes you need that little bit of luck as well, Peter. It doesn't matter the dominance you play. You just need a wee bit of luck to get you over the line, and I think that's what Neil's been talking about. They've dominated the games and they've played well enough that they should have won the games. And to, as Ruffy said, to be up in third place, second place, fighting for it, they've got to win these games. But the dominance in the games didn't push them over the line. So that'll be what he's concerned about. They're letting late goals in more than anything,
Yeah, and over and above that, and here's a man who's well used to expectation at Celtic, but there's an expectation at Hibs.
It's always difficult to predict, where we should be in the league, as tough as this. But I'm just looking at the games overall, and I think we should be sitting in the top 4 by now. We're not, so we have to make that happen. We have to earn the right to do that. But in the games, when I look at Dundee away, St Johnstone away, we've totally dominated the games. We've dropped 2 points there in both those games, so that's 4 points. We could have been better off. We're 2-0 up at home to Motherwell, that's another 2 points dropped. So realistically, we could be sitting on 15 points, and that would have pleased me a lot more.
If we're on 15 points, Maggie would be sitting second in the table.
Yeah, no, well, but it's he who'll be first to admit, at the end, come the end of the season, there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and he can't. You've got to win them. You've got to turn the draws into wins. That's what he's got to do, because of the dominance. I know what he's saying when it said it could have been 6 points, 2-0 against Motherwell. You think the game's in, it's his defence, he's got to sort that out. Maybe lack of concentration, I don't know.
Yeah, and they're up against Ross County at Dingwall on Saturday, and Ross County haven't had it all their own way. They've been, the form's been poor. Only that one win over Dundee. 3 out of the next 4 games are at home though for Jim McIntyre, and that's where the county boss is hoping they can take advantage.
I think your home form is where predominantly you'll pick up most of your points. We finished the home form really well at the end of last season. But it's not been good enough so far this season, so we need to get back to winning ways in Dingwall in front of our home fans. They were fantastic last time out against Thistle because they recognised what we put into the game and the amount of efforts that we had, and we need them to be like that again, get right behind the lads, and we'll hopefully give them that performance that they deserve.
Yeah, just one draw in the last 5 games for County.
Yeah, I think they're still going through the boys. A scenario of losing your top goal scorer, somebody who won a lot of games. These games that they've been drawn, probably he would have notched something and they got 3 points. So they have to get that out of the system. They start winning games, but when you're down there, all you need is a win. And it can take you right up that league.
Yeah, I've picked Hamilton in the bottom position and Ross County in the playoff position. Do you still see that being the case, Ruffy, or do you have someone else in that playoff position?
My playoff position is Dundee. I thought they had a poor start, and I'm still going to stick in there, But although we've all went for Hamilton, I have to say I thought Hamilton were really unlucky last week against Hearts. I know Hearts won the game 2-1, and they were getting all the pundits. I watched the highlights of that game, and Hamilton were very impressive.
Okay, that's Ruffy trying to just get himself in with the Hamilton people, which tells me he's actually shopping in that area this weekend. We're going to hear, we're going to talk about Hearts and a certain Diego Costa next. No real point in asking the boys about that when it was just so easy because Macca is a big Bangles fan.
Yes, Gareth Bale.
Yeah. 1989 was the year, and of course, as soon as you see Joe there, you know exactly.
It was the only goal he scored.
Yeah.
So, decent one. Good throw in though. I think it was Gary Stephen.
Yeah.
Good ball, son.
Sometimes players can make a name for themselves on one particular game. It sticks with people.
Honestly, you go out with him and he tells you about it. That's how he talks about it. So,
Can I introduce you to Ruffy? 1971 League Cup winner. Some people can live off one game.
I remember it. I was a supporter. No for you.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, Macca, I mean, do you think your finest game was at Hampden against Dundee United?
Probably not my finest game, no. Probably 2nd of January against Rangers was probably my finest game for Celtic. Scored the 2.
Yeah. Okay, I just thought I'd ask.
Cup final was, I mean, we played all right, but last 20 minutes we played, the second half we played really well, but it was just that season. We knew we were winning games long before anyone else did.
Yeah, okay. We're going to talk about Hearts now because Craig Levine, we saw him in midweek. Ruffy was just sitting behind us watching the game between Partick Thistle and Rangers, obviously taking a few notes, seeing exactly which way, what particular style they have. Of course, Hearts take on Partick Thistle at Firhill at the weekend as well. He doesn't seem to be placing too much of an emphasis on the injury to Arnaud Djoum because he looks as if he's going to face a wee bit of time out on the sideline. So that's one man in midfield that he's down.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it last week. I think the most important thing for Hearts was the win. That's a draw and a win under the belt coming away. But as I said earlier there, I was impressed with Hamilton. I thought Hamilton should have taken something out of the game. But Craig won't be bothering with that at all. It's 3 points and moving on again. I was impressed with Partick Thistle in large parts of that game. If they could get the ball into the latter third and maybe take their chances when they come along, it would make things a lot easier. But I like the style of football that they played, and I think they'll give Hearts a bit of a game.
Yeah, it's a big month for Hearts, Macca, because it's Partick. Then it's Dundee, Ross County and St Johnstone before you get to the Edinburgh Derby, because as you know, these are the games where sometimes a manager loses a bit of time and faith with the fans, or gains more respect. If you can win a derby, it gives you that really bragging rights in the city, but the feel good factor and a bit of leeway with the fans.
Well, that's the 4 games that you're talking about there leading up to it is games that against your probably closest rivals, really, that you want to take points. As Ruffy said, you've got to take points. Hibs are playing well, not getting the points. Hearts, as you said, not playing that particularly well, but getting the result, and that can be a big boost without playing well. In the changing room, you're saying, look, we're doing this, we're getting results, and we're not playing well. So it's going to come, and that's what he'll be using with his players. I've not seen a lot of the boy, but what I've heard, he's a decent player, the boy. He's going to be out for a while. So, so it's a case of, has he got somebody to come in and take his place? I'm sure Craig will, if he's not too worried about it, I'm sure he'll be working on him in the training ground. That's one thing I do know. He'll be getting him on the training ground, and he'll be putting him into formations that, to make sure that the next 4 games is going to get points on the board for him.
Yeah, they're only a point between Hearts and Hibs in the table, Ruffy.
Yeah, and if I'm led to believe that after these games they're playing, they've then got 8 games at home. Yeah. In the fix. So, I mean, that is, you'll be looking at these fixtures, you'll be looking at picking up points in these games, and then obviously all your home games. So, yeah, if you're a Hearts supporter, you would think the way things are just now, things are looking very, very bright.
Yeah, by the time they get to the Hibs game, Hibs is at Easter Road, and then there's a long run of games that they have at home. That not necessarily, they're not a given that they're going to win them, but it's a right, they can have a right good run where they can make a surge. And I think the last home game is the 17th of December against Celtic, so that gives you an indication of that run of games. You start off with Rangers and then end with Celtic, but in the middle there's a clutch of games there that they could really rack up points if indeed, as I suspect, Craig Levein gets something out of them. I think there is an immediate reaction to Craig. I think he'll do well with Hearts.
I think so.
Yeah, well, at this moment in time is picking up points, and he hasn't failed in that aspect of the game. You know, that I'm sure he would like to win games a wee bit more comfortable, but the games that are coming up are against teams he would like to think that the Hearts are better, but I'm sure the other teams will have something to say about that, because I think all the other teams are playing okay. They're not playing great, but I don't think there's a massive gap between all these teams.
The biggest thing that they've got in their favour, I think, you know, before this new stand get built, it was a great atmosphere at Tynecastle.
Yeah.
It's always been a great atmosphere, and I was over there and looking at this new stand, and it's going to be awesome, and playing in that stadium, that arena. And for the fans to get behind the team, that could be a goal to start.
Yeah. Were you in Edinburgh at the time? Were you through there?
Yeah, it was where Offie was speaking at dinner.
Is it? I was just about to say. Can't believe you've been in Edinburgh and never called us to take us through with you.
No.
Okay, before
we go home early. He's always go home early.
Before we talk about Diego Costa, another forward with an attitude. Let's talk about the statement coming from the SPFL. This is with regards to the independent review. The SFA said they wouldn't be holding one, and the SPFL board have responded with a statement saying it's disappointed in the FA's decision not to participate in an independent review. Such a review would also have enabled any lessons learned to be implemented for the future benefit of the game in Scotland. The SPFL board has been clear that any meaningful review would have had to be carried out in association with the SFA, with the full and active cooperation of both organisations. The SPFL board has therefore concluded that it cannot, by itself, take forward an effective independent review. So, both doors closed there, Ruffy.
Yeah, a bit surprised, you know, obviously Neil Doncaster coming out initially and saying that he was going to review it, and obviously he's only a spokesman for the rest of the clubs in the divisions, and it looks as if they've had meetings and they've decided not to take it any further, but I don't think that's the last we've heard of it, because Celtic seem to be pushing for it, and I don't know who it will be the next people who take it forward, but it's a strange one with me with Neil Doncaster, because I thought they were going to look into that.
Yeah, there are two separate issues here, Maka, which I think complex to say the very least. One is, I don't know where Celtic fans or any other groups of supporters who then take a legal process, whether it be to UEFA or the Court of Arbitration for Sport on title stripping, or whether the other issue is taking this further with regards to whether there was any mismanagement at SPFL or SFA level. I don't know where. All I know is that the plan of attack hasn't finished with the supporters. I think they still want to see some kind of investigation.
I'm just surprised that both boards have closed it down before anything happens. So, what we're talking about off air, Peter, I think the supporters groups are going to take it forward, and I don't know where they'll take it, but somebody's got to be, there's wrongdoing, and someone's got to put their hands up and say yes. But I don't know what, Peter, I don't know what you can do. But just to sweep it under the carpet is wrong, I think. Somebody's, I don't know what kind of punishment is there. I don't know what they can do with them. But just to sweep it under the carpet as if it's never happened, I think it's totally wrong.
Well, just to clarify it, Ruffy, just in case anybody wants to pick it up, of any misdemeanour that has been found and established, fines were handed out. That's the first thing. I mean, I think what's happened with the SPFL and the SFA is they've sought legal counsel at the highest level to make sure that the process that they went through in this Rangers case was thorough and by the book. And I think that's what they both feel confident that they can shut the door on it now and say we have conducted ourselves according to our rules and followed the process. It might not have been ideally what everybody was looking for, but they feel as if they've covered themselves.
Yeah, and that's what boards do, don't they? They make sure that there's not going to be any comeback on them. but I'm sure there'll be other people out there who do. As Neil Doncaster said, for the future of the game, if it happens again, let's get it right the next time. So I think that's why he was going to take it forward. But now that the two doors are closed, we're never going to see that.
There was wrongdoing, Peter, I think. There was wrongdoing, but we don't know, we're never going to find out what the boards, whether it was SFA or SPFL, it's just wrong that everyone's just closing ranks and shutting up. And I think there's somebody's got to answer to it. As I say, I don't know what, I'm not into all that, what the legal system is and what you can do. But just to sweep it under the carpet is wrong, I think. Somebody's got to take blame for it.
Well, it's complex, Macca, and you know, I wouldn't say thankfully, but we've run out of time, and because I thought you were going to go into it in greater detail, and then I was then I was going to go to Edinburgh with Ruffy. Thanks to Frank McAvennie for joining us on the programme. Join us tomorrow on STV2 when, of course, it'll be countdown to that big game with the 12 o'clock kick-off at Ibrox. Hugh McDonald of the Daily Mail will be joining Ruffy and myself at 7:30 on STV2. Thanks to Macca from Ruffy and myself, Peter Martin. Good night.